Why email outreach is still crucial in sales development. Email outreach isn't dead, it's just getting policed. Cold email is dead, makes for a good LinkedIn post, but it doesn't match what high-performing SDR teams see in the field. What's dying is lazy, template-y outreach that treats prospects like a spreadsheet instead of real operators with real priorities. When we run outbound programs correctly, email still starts conversations, creates pipeline, and supports predictable meeting flow. The inbox is noisier than ever, and the average knowledge worker receives about 117 emails per day. That reality raises the bar on relevance and clarity, but it also reinforces a simple truth. The inbox is still where work happens. If your buyers live there, your outbound motion has to be able to compete there. The opportunity is straightforward. Teams that treat cold email as a targeted, personalized channel consistently outperform teams that lean on calls or social alone. Email is controllable, measurable, and scalable. If you stop chasing volume for its own sake and start building a repeatable system. Why email remains the buyer's default channel in B2B. Buyer behavior is the main reason email outreach is still crucial in sales development. Roughly 73% of B2B buyers say they prefer to be contacted by email, which matters more than any opinion about channel fatigue. If you want to meet decision makers where they already choose to engage, email remains the safest starting point. Email also beats interrupt channels on basic probability. Research cited in Outbound benchmarks shows buyers are 5 to 7x more likely to respond to an email than a cold call, which is why even strong cold calling services usually perform better when email warms the account first. In practice, a call works best when it feels like touch 2 or 3, not touch 1. Finally, email is buyer-friendly in a way that modern procurement and committee buying demand. Prospects can respond asynchronously, forward a thread internally, and revisit context weeks later when timing changes. That paper trail is a feature in complex deals, not a drawback. Treat outbound email like a product. List quality drives outcomes. The fastest way to improve results isn't rewriting subject lines, it's tightening your ICP and rebuilding the list. Top teams spend the majority of their effort on targeting and list-building services because a great SDR with an average script and a perfect list will still book meetings. The reverse almost never works, and it's why spray and pray is one of the most expensive mistakes in outbound. As a sales development agency and SDR agency, we approach outbound like a product with versions and release notes. You lock a baseline sequence, then test one variable at a time: targeting, hook, CTA, send window on a consistent rhythm. Over a quarter, that discipline can compound into meaningful gains without increasing send volume or risking domain reputation. If you're benchmarking today, start with the last 60 to 90 days and pull open, reply, positive reply, and meeting booked rates by segment. Then compare your baseline to modern cold email performance ranges, because "we sent a lot" isn't a KPI. When a B2B sales agency or an in-house team can isolate where results drop, list fit, message, or deliverability, fixes become obvious and fast. Right for busy operators. Short emails, clear asks, disciplined follow-up. Realistic benchmarks help keep expectations grounded and improvements measurable. Typical cold B2B email open rates land around 15 to 28%, and a 2024 B2B study pegged average response around 5.1%. Those numbers aren't a ceiling. They're the midpoint you should beat with better list quality, relevance, and follow-through. Here's a simple way to calibrate performance without hand-waving. especially if you're evaluating a cold email agency, an outbound sales agency, or building internally. The pattern we see repeatedly is that clarity wins. Keep each message short, focus on one idea, and make the ask low friction. Most importantly, don't quit early. Follow-up emails can increase reply rates by up to 65%, yet many reps still stop after the first touch. If you build 4 to 7 thoughtful touches that add net new value, you make it harder to miss you than to reply with a quick yes/no. You don't need more emails. You need earned relevance delivered consistently to the right people. Make personalization repeatable without sounding automated. Personalization is no longer a nice to have, but it also can't be a time sink that prevents SDRs from selling. Data shows personalized cold emails are about 2.7 times more likely to be opened and can drive dramatically higher response than generic templates. The takeaway isn't to write 500 bespoke essays. It's to build a strong base template and add 1 to 2 earned relevance lines pulled from real signals. This is where modern systems and the right level of AI make a difference. At SalesHive, we use structured templates and our eMod personalization engine to inject specific, grounded context, recent initiatives, hiring signals, positioning shifts, while keeping voice consistent and human. Used this way, AI amplifies judgment instead of replacing it, and it prevents the robot email problem that quietly damages brand and reply rates. The common failure mode is automating everything and losing the human voice. Prospects can tell when a message is manufactured, and they delete those emails on autopilot. Keep the copy conversational, remove excessive links and images in early touches, and make sure every first line proves you understand the role, not just the company name. Email is the spine of multi-channel outbound, not a competitor to calls. Email works best when it anchors a cadence that includes phone and LinkedIn, not when it tries to do everything alone. When prospects have already seen your name in their inbox, B2B cold calling tends to feel like a continuation rather than an interruption. That's why many cold calling companies and SDR agencies design email-first motions and layer calling and social around the accounts that show intent. If you run a cold calling agency motion or buy cold calling services, email still improves the economics. Buyers are 5 to 7 times more likely to respond to an email than a cold call, which means email can do the heavy lifting on initial contact while calls focus on the most engaged accounts. This approach also gives AEs cleaner context before a conversation: what was sent, what was opened, and what the prospect reacted to. Operationally, the goal is a cohesive story across touches. Your LinkedIn message should reference the same trigger as your email, and your call opener should acknowledge the earlier note. When channels reinforce each other instead of repeating the same pitch, prospects experience consistency, not noise. Avoid the mistakes that quietly kill deliverability and pipeline. The biggest mistake teams make is blasting gigantic, low-quality lists. It tanks domain reputation, increases spam complaints, and trains reps to equate activity with results, while the pipeline stays flat. The fix is uncomfortable but effective. Shrink the list, enforce firmographic and role filters, validate emails, and segment into cohorts small enough that personalization is actually possible. Another common failure is overwriting emails with product talk and zero prospect context. In a world where recipients are already processing 117 emails per day, long feature dumps get ignored. Lead with a trigger, a pain, or an outcome tied to that role. Then position your offer as a next step, not the hero of the story. Finally, deliverability is the silent killer most teams underinvest in. If you don't land in the inbox, nothing else matters, even if your dashboards show high send counts. Warm domains gradually, monitor bounces, keep early touches simple, and treat inbox placement as a first-class metric alongside replies and meetings. What to do next? Build, test, and decide what to outsource. Email remains one of the highest leverage channels because it combines buyer preference with strong economics. Across broader email marketing data, ROI is often estimated at $36 to $42 returned for every $1 spent, which is why email continues to anchor demand generation and outbound nurture. The nuance in 2025 is that you win on precision, not volume. A practical next step is to rebuild one gold standard list of 200 to 500 contacts in a tight ICP, then redesign your core sequence for brevity and progression. Benchmark results against 15 to 28% opens and 5% replies, and run an A/B test every 2 weeks with a single variable so learnings are clean. Over time, you'll turn Outbound into a predictable system rather than a monthly fire drill. Then decide what to build in-house versus outsource. If your team is buried in research, list building, and deliverability management instead of conversations, sales outsourcing can be the faster path to consistent pipeline. Whether you partner with an outsourced sales team, a sales agency, or keep it internal, the winning playbook looks the same: tight targeting, human relevance, disciplined follow-up, and a steady testing habit.